I wish I could say fear made me freeze. But... and...
You think surviving something like that means it's over. But sometimes the real damage starts after you walk away alive.
The belief that the spoiled food had originated from our restaurant was completely false. Someone had placed it there intentionally, and the identity of that person was painfully obvious. The first thing I observed was a shopping trolley, coated in dangling charms, mini ornaments, random accessories, and bright hanging objects, the exact kind of customized cart you often spot pushed by homeless individuals. And then my eyes shifted to the supposedly homeless woman herself. And yes, no exaggeration, she was inside the oil drum. She was soaked, drenched, layered head to toe in weak-souled, dirty, thick, greasy cooking oil. She had not noticed me watching, and while I stood there frozen, she slipped back into the barrel and submerged herself fully in the liquid. I actually timed it. She was under that oil for 45 seconds, and then she exploded upward, gasping loudly in a way I can only describe as pure and settling pleasure. Her mouth was stretched wide, oil spilling, dripping, pouring out like a fountain. And then her eyes met mine. She launched a glob of cooking oil straight at me. It came nowhere near hitting me, thankfully. But still, I stumbled backward instantly. And did I mention that this woman looked heartbreakingly, disturbingly, soul-crushingly old, and also completely unclothed? At this point, I could only see her exposed, sagging up her chest. But later I saw all of her nudity in full view. So yes, I can confirm without doubt she was completely unclothed and diving in our oil drum. I won't go into a full breakdown describing a frail, scar-covered, extremely aged, grease-soaked woman bursting out of a barrel. You already know what that must look like. But when she spotted me and launched that oil, it was like a mental trigger flipped inside her mind. Maybe it was shame from being caught bathing in oil surrounded by rotten food. But honestly, I highly doubt that was the real trigger. Instead, she began shrieking, screaming, screeching, yelling at me, pointing a crooked, gnarled, twisted finger like she was accusing me of something supernatural. If this had happened in 1690, I would have contacted the closest witch finder instantly, telling them that we had a witch-burning situation ready to unfold. But sadly, this was 2023, so all I could do was back away and mumble awkwardly, "Hey, woman, calm down. You can't live in our oil barrel." The oil woman began thrashing wildly, shrieking louder, yelling about spells, curses, and nonsense. And that was when I realized exactly what was going to happen next. She was reaching toward me aggressively, flailing with fury, anger, rage, madness, chaos, and unfiltered insanity. And then, yes, the entire oil drum tipped forward, crashing down, spilling rancid vegetable oil all across the fenced lot. I tried jumping back, but hit the wall behind me. In a questionable moment of brilliance, I kicked the bucket that was holding the door open. I did not want any of this mess entering the kitchen and giving Karen another excuse to Karen out at me. And the oil drum tumbled forward, the back door slammed shut, and locked behind me. And that meant I was trapped. Trapped with this grease-soaked woman in a small, fenced-in, locked, silent space. Another detail I noticed: the oil barrel was filled with even more rotting food. And we definitely had not placed it there. And I got this awful, twisting, sinking feeling that the old woman had hauled that food inside with her, submerged it, and had been eating it while underwater. Well, under oil technically, she began crawling toward me across the asphalt, trying to stand, slipping each time, sliding in oil, moving like a nightmare creature covered in grease. Now I was conflicted. What the hell was I supposed to do? Part of me felt pity for this clearly unstable, mentally unwell, Homeless old woman covered in oil and eating waste. But the other part of me saw a person crawling at me like some kind of basement horror covered in grease. And from the look on her face, it felt like she was thinking hard out, and then she screamed something that froze my spine completely and going to tear you apart. And that's when I realized this was not about rotten food, oil, or accusations anymore. She wanted something darker. She was screaming at me now, her voice raw, cracked, and animalistic, accusing me of being a witch, shouting that she would rip my insides out and fill me with oil. None of that language inspired sympathy, courage, or calm. If anything, it drained every last ounce of mercy out of me. And that's when I did what might still be the most reckless, desperate, and oddly cinematic move of my entire life. I ran. I sprinted round the spreading pool of foul, rancid oil, my shoes already slipping, my heart hammering, my breath shallow, my eyes locked onto the dumpster at the far end of the lot. My plan formed instantly. Climb the dumpster, leap over the 8-foot chain link fence, trap her inside the yard, then run round front and call the police. It was a solid plan, logical, efficient. The problem was that I completely underestimated how fast a fully oil-covered human body can slide across asphalt. I was almost there, almost at the dumpster, when I felt a dot her hand, her slick, greasy fingers wrapped round my ankle, yanking backward, trying to drag me down into the oil-soaked ground she was writhing in. I looked back and saw her face twisted in fury, her body sliding effortlessly across the pavement, her grip terrifyingly strong. Absolutely not. I reacted without thinking, without planning, without pride. I stomped down on her wrist. I am not proud of that moment, not even a little, but it worked. She screamed, howled, released me, and rolled away clutching her arm. And before guilt or hesitation could catch up with me, I acted. I kicked her ridiculous shopping cart out of the way, scrambled onto the dumpster, and launched myself toward the fence with everything I had left. I aimed perfectly. I jumped hard. I committed fully. And then the oil betrayed me. My hand slipped. My shoe slid. I almost made it, but instead, my jeans caught on the chain link fence at the knee. Suddenly, I was hanging upside down, suspended awkwardly, dangling on the outside of the yard by torn denim, grease dripping off me, heart pounding in my ears. For a brief, horrifying moment, I considered undoing my belt and sliding out of my pants, dropping to the ground in my underwear and escaping that way. But there was already a naked elderly woman soaked in oil behind me. There was absolutely no universe where I was, making this situation any stranger than it already was. So I did the only thing left. I screamed. I screamed for help. Loud, desperate, humiliating. I screamed until my throat burned and my eyes watered. And finally a passerby noticed me, rushed over, and helped pull me free. The moment they saw what I had escaped from, their face drained of color, and they recoiled in pure horror. I limped back toward the restaurant while that stranger kept watch on the woman, just in case she somehow tried to escape. And as the adrenaline faded, a chilling realization set in. How had she gotten in there? The gate had been locked. The shopping cart was inside. The padlock was still secured. The only explanation I could come up with was that she had unlocked it herself and locked it again behind her. And the more I thought about it, the worse it felt. This didn't feel accidental. This didn't feel random. This felt practiced. And that's when it hit me. This probably wasn't the first time she'd bathed in our oil drum. And I was terrified of what might have happened.